All right, so picture this, okay? It's the 29th century, and humanity, well, we haven't just like reached for the stars. We're practically out there on vacation among them,
Wow, yeah.
like faster than light travel. That's practically like a weekend trip.
Right.
Androids,
Mm-hmm.
they're as normal as like your coffee maker.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about entire cities just floating out there on gas giants.
On clouds.
It's incredible progress,
It
right?
really is like the kind of future we all dream of, right? This tech that lets us do all this, exploration. We've basically overcome all those fundamental limits.
Exactly. But here's where things get a little a little more complicated.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, we've been looking at this text, The Infinite Loop, Bureaucracy in the 29th Century. And what it shows is even in this super advanced time, there's this one thing that hasn't changed.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Bureaucracy.
Uh-huh.
It's still there. And this time it's the Galactic Federation.
Yeah.
1,000 worlds all under this one massive organization.
It's kind of ironic, right? Like we have all this amazing technology, but all the problems that come with trying to manage so many people, so many planets, so many different
Societies.
yeah, societies. It's a huge challenge no matter what kind of tech you've got.
Totally. Totally. And that's kind of what we're going to try and figure out, like how did this Galactic Federation bureaucracy, how did it affect a major scientific discovery, a really big one?
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And to do that, we're going to focus on Dr. Lila Keats. She's an astrophysicist. Our source material, it says her research was going to revolutionize space travel.
I mean, if we're talking about a revolution in space travel in the 29th century, that must be pretty big, right?
Oh, huge. So what she was working on, she figured out how to harness energy from black holes. Black holes.
Wow.
To power, wait for it, a warp drive.
No way.
And get this, without all those, dangerous and unstable fuels they had to use back then.
Like we're talking about completely changing completely changing how we move through space, right?
It's not like some upgrades, it's like a whole new thing.
Totally.
Lila, she thought, okay, I've got this breakthrough. I'm going from the lab to a test flight, no problem.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the Federation bureaucracy, that was a way bigger problem than any science problem.
Oh, I bet. Bureaucracy, even in the 29th century.
Right. So let's start with the first problem she hit.
Okay.
Funding.
Oh, of course.
Her assistant, Dr. Xander Tan, he says right away, we need a grant.
Makes sense. You need funding for these kinds of projects, especially something as ambitious as a warp drive.
And Lila's like, wait, a grant for a test flight? The tech's proven in the lab.
Yeah.
And Xander's like, okay, so to get a test flight approved, you need a grant. Mm-hmm. But to get the grant, there needs to be a feasibility study. And before that, there's got to be an impact assessment and this whole regulatory review by the Department of Galactic Standards.
Wow, so many hoops to jump through.
It's crazy. Lila says it feels like a never-ending loop of forms, not moving forward, just filling out paperwork.
Right. So much for progress.
And Xander, he says something that's almost funny. He says, welcome to the Federation. This is what they call progress.
That's pretty cynical. And probably true.
So Lila, she's thinking, okay, no problem. I'll just submit everything to the Department of Galactic Innovation, right?
Seems logical.
Wrong. She gets bounced around to all these different departments, each one with their own, their own rules.
Bureaucracy at its finest, right?
And the first big roadblock is this thing called the Scientific Integrity Protocol.
Scientific Integrity Protocol, huh?
Which sounds, pretty reasonable. It's all about making sure this new tech doesn't break the laws of physics, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Lila's work had already been peer-reviewed, like by other scientists. So the science was solid.
Right. So why this extra layer of checking?
Well, they rejected her proposal because of a technicality.
A technicality.
Yeah, in one sense, they said it wasn't worded right. It didn't follow the Galactic Federation's scientific formalism guidelines.
Wait, so they rejected a potentially world-changing scientific breakthrough because of essentially bad grammar.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
She had to rewrite the whole thing. And then they sent her to the Ministry of Interplanetary Relations because, what if this disrupts some agrarian planet's economy or whatever?
Oh, boy.
And then the Department of Colonial Affairs because, power dynamics on colonized worlds and all that. Months just to get to the feasibility review.
It sounds exhausting.
Oh, and the review. It's this big courtroom, like hundreds of representatives all there.
Intimidating, I bet.
Totally. And there's this bureaucrat, this guy with long hair and like a ton of data pads. He's got this reputation, right? He rejects almost everything.
Oh, no.
And his big concern, he's worried about the warp drive messing with, the gravity of nearby stars.
Okay, I mean, that's a valid concern.
It is, but Lila, she already did simulations. They show the effects are practically nothing.
So what was the problem?
He says the simulations, well, they weren't in the official database.
Seriously?
He wanted her to do a system-wide simulation.
Yeah.
And that would take, like, months.
So come on.
It's crazy.
So what happened? Did she just give up?
No.
Yeah.
No, she kept going. But all this waiting, all this back and forth, it took its toll, Lila, she starts feeling like all her work is, well, it's just wasted effort.
I can imagine it's got to be so demoralizing to pour your heart and soul into a project only to have it get bogged down by endless paperwork and pointless regulations.
Yeah, and her team, they started shrinking. People had to move on. They had to do other things. And Xander, he went from all excited to just cynical.
I bet. I mean, it's got to be hard to stay motivated when the system seems designed to crush any kind of, creative spirit.
And Lila, she's not as excited anymore. Now she's just focused on getting through this system.
Yeah.
It's like the joy of discovery. It was gone.
That's heartbreaking, like the bureaucracy sucked all the passion out of it.
Yeah. So finally she gets an email from the Department of Galactic Transport. They rejected her proposal.
After all of that, they still rejected it.
Yeah. But here's the crazy part. It wasn't because of safety concerns.
Wait, what? But I thought that was the whole point of all those reviews and assessments and
I know, right?
So why did they reject it then?
Because of the uniformity clause in the Transport Authorization Act.
The uniformity clause, what's that?
Basically, all new tech has to fit this specific efficiency model. And Lila's warp drive, it was too different. Too innovative.
So they rejected it because it was too good. That's ridiculous.
It is. And this is when Lila realizes the system, it isn't just slow or inefficient. She says it's actively hostile to innovation. Like it's built to stop anything new from happening.
Wow. That's a pretty damning indictment of the whole system.
It is.
So what happens next? I mean, did she just give up on the warp drive?
No, she didn't. But she realized trying to change the Federation, that wasn't going to work.
Right. Too big, too entrenched.
Yeah. So she does something else. She starts looking for others. Independent thinkers, rogue scientists, innovators.
Rebels.
Pretty much. People who hit the same wall with the Federation. They're out there working on their own.
Kind of like an underground network of scientists.
Exactly. Sharing ideas, working together. It's risky, of course.
Yeah, going against the Federation, that's not something to take lightly.
No. But it's also kind of hopeful. That even in this bureaucratic mess, people still want to invent, still want to discover things.
It's like that drive to push the boundaries. It's human nature. And even a galaxy-spanning bureaucracy can't completely crush it.
Exactly. And, the text, it ends by saying that humanity, we've always been looking at the stars, but the Federation, they've gotten so caught up in their own rules and regulations, they've kind of forgotten that.
It's a good reminder for us all, We have to be careful that the systems we create to manage things, that they don't end up stifling the very things that make us human.
I think that's a really good point to end on. So in this deep dive, we looked at, how bureaucracy can really crush innovation. And we saw this through Dr. Lila Keats and her struggles with the Galactic Federation. Mm-hmm. It's like they built this system for order and oversight, but it ended up blocking progress, especially when it came to really new and different ideas.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway for me is that we have to find a balance. We need structure, yes, but we also need to make sure that those structures don't kill our creativity.
Absolutely. And that leads us to a final thought for our listeners. Think about our own world right now. Where do we see these kinds of infinite loops of bureaucracy getting in the way? Can we learn from what happened to Lila? Can we find ways to encourage innovation without losing control? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.